live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Yes, it is. Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. It is a Friday edition of the show. It's great to have you with us. I'm Brian Schnee. We are going in depth tonight once again on Jodi Hildebrandt. Lots of new information to bring you, including a conversation with Jodi's niece, Jessie. Before we get there, though, wanted to just remind you, as always in the show, you can go in depth with us by weighing in and letting us know how you're feeling about things. Use the hashtag 2 News Live to join in on the conversation if you'd like to. But really, you can find us on the socials. I say us, not just me. Trent Parker's here too. Facebook, X, Instagram. Trent needs one more follower, I think, to crack a goldmine number on Instagram, so give him the follow there. Send us a DM if you'd like to weigh in. Speaking of Trent, we'll get to his insight on what's happening here. Taking a live look in the Beaver area. Once again, snow doing its thing. Oh, I stand corrected. Trent has 1,003 now. Boom, he crossed over. You can now unfollow him if you'd like.
No.
All right, so Beaver, let's take a look here what we're seeing. That's a tough stretch of the freeway. If you're cruising in through, by the way, I was looking at a camera and a monitor. That's right here.
Coming up to kiss
Not
you.
trying to come up and give you a little smooch on a Friday. But as we take a look here at what's happening in central southern Utah, I mean, really statewide, somebody seems to be getting a little bit of snow this evening after we got some pretty good bands coming through the Salt Lake area earlier today.
Yeah, the other day the focus was in southern and central Utah. Now it's mostly northern Utah, but as you can see from that camera down in central and southern Utah, they're still getting some snow and some rain even down in St. George. And we've been, simping for the snow, rizzing up the snow gods, and we've kind of gotten it.
A lot of people have been going over there and doing laps around the whale at 9th and 9th, and they've been putting in the work. And Mother Nature going to deliver here as soon as we enter the new year.
Yeah, it kind of seems like the weather shut off as soon as they started doing those ultra marathons around the whale. And now that they've stopped doing the marathons, the snow has returned. So I don't know if we should be running around the whale anymore.
I never recommended it in the first place. It was a little kooky, but hey, whatever works.
All right, yeah, let's go ahead and get to your forecast, though. Let's see what we're talking about tonight. We've got some snow totals that are actually pretty impressive. If we take a look at them, we picked up a couple inches of snow, especially here around Salt Lake County. Alta, 9 inches up in the Cottonwood Canyons. East Mill Creek, 5. North Salt Lake, 5 as well. North Ogden, also 5. Draper picking up 4. South Jordan, a little bit less, 3 inches. Over the last 24 hours or so. And here's that live look again, just remarkable down in central and southern Utah. A little bit of that road snow out there, a couple of these less traveled areas not getting as much attention from the road crews. So keep that in mind if you're headed out tonight. The same idea holds even here in the metro area. If you're on some of those side streets that might not get plowed every couple of hours, there could be a couple slick spots out there tonight in your neighborhoods. We've got those snow showers here. Not a lot of them actually, they're kind of just going under the radar right now, but we do have a couple of heavier snow showers there towards Bryan Head where they've picked up, 6 inches today plus 7 inches over the last couple of days. They're up over a foot now on the week. We've got a couple of light rain showers just to the west of downtown St. George moving into northern Arizona. So for the most part, you're staying mostly dry, but don't be surprised if you see a couple sprinkles pop out of those clouds in Washington County. Some northerly flow now developing across the lake. So Tooele, you're next to see the heaviest snow while we kind of taper things off here across the Wasatch Front for the most part. And if you're confused about these first alert weather days and what the timing is and how to plan for your weekend or the next couple of days ahead, well, here's the first one. So it's pretty much now through midnight. Started earlier this afternoon, earlier this morning, and that's for northern and central Utah, and that's going to last through about midnight tonight. You're in the clear through most of the day on Saturday, so if you need to make any travel plans over that time frame, you should be pretty good. And then we've got our next storm moving in late Saturday night and through much of the day on Sunday, and that's our next first alert weather day. It's actually the second one out of, I believe, 6 that we've got on your 7-day forecast. Future Track shows those showers continuing here across northern Utah through about 10 o'clock tonight. Generally light in nature. We don't expect a whole lot of accumulation, but it's just enough to make those roads slick. Cloud cover for your day on Saturday, but like I said, mostly dry across the entire state, and then our next storm moves in a hurry. We don't have a lot of time to recover. Saturday afternoon and evening, we could see some light snow in the mountains, but it's not really until 10 or 11 o'clock that things really start to fill in along the valley floors. And then this one's going to be a statewide storm. We're talking about the entire portion of the I-15 corridor will see snow, and that includes St. George through early Sunday morning. This is 10 o'clock Sunday, and we've got snow in St. George, and it could mix with rain at times, but it's really going to be mostly a snow event here across the Beehive State as we head into your Monday morning. So future snow tonight, generally a trace to maybe a full inch towards Provo, and that's about it. But as we head towards Sunday and Monday morning, things get a little bit different. We could start to be shoveling some snow. I know we weren't doing a whole lot of shoveling recently. Those below normal temperatures are in the forecast for the 6 to 10 day outlook. Above normal precipitation is also in the 6 to 10 day outlook. So it looks like we're just going to keeping on with this active weather over the next couple of days. St. George will be in the 40s for the next 7 days. Weather alert day on Sunday, and that's for that mix of rain and snow. We won't likely see a whole lot of accumulation, but especially if you're headed north on I-15, you will run into some snow showers. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first alert weather days on that 7-day forecast.
That's 5+1 for those at home keeping score.
That's a first for me. I don't know if we're ever going to do that again. And temperatures getting brutally cold. I mean, we're talking about 20s as highs, Brian.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you love looking in the stats and some data and stuff.
And I love being on the spot.
Yes, you do. St. George, snowfall to actual valley area in St. George. How long has it been?
It's so rare. I mean, we're talking about sometime last year during a really active winter that was really cold with a lot of snow. We have not had any snow so far this year in St. George. Not even a snowflake really falling out of the sky down there yet.
St. George friends, you better send photos if we get snow accumulating. We need to see
some rulers in Hurricane and Laverkin sticking into those picnic tables. His backyard.
UDOT crews are out making sure the highways are clear for your commute this evening. Let's track them. Live look at the current road conditions as well as the location of the plows. You can see them all over the place here. I mean, take a look-see. We got some friends over in Tooele there, the Colville area, Morgan. They're busy in some of those higher elevation spots. No surprise. Remember to download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get updated forecasts, live radar right at the palm of your hand. The app is free to download.
And to count 6, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony.
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, guilty.
And to count 3, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony.
Guilty.
Going in depth once again tonight on Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. Months ago, I spoke with Jessie Hildebrandt, who is Jody's niece, who not only stayed with Jody and outlined abuse of their own, but also told other stories and other experiences that have been shared around the world. We've been in touch since all of this started unfolding, and I caught up with Jessie Hildebrandt again this week, now that both Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt entered their guilty pleas regarding those aggravated child abuse charges. Can you take me back to when you heard that she indeed pled guilty to these charges and what you were feeling?
Yeah, it was, well, even before that, when Ruby when she pled guilty, it kind of started this cascading experience of emotions that I wasn't really expecting to feel. I kind of assumed it would all be just a very positive, like, excitement. But there was a lot of anger that came up. There was a lot of anger towards maybe even envy that that it was finally taken seriously, not at the cost of, also excitement and joy for the children that were harmed. But there were a lot of just like conflicting emotions happening all at the same time. There was anger when I heard her attorney's statement to the press. It was just so enraging and so patronizing. What he said about her taking accountability and her just wanting those kids to focus on healing was just absolute garbage. It was such, no, without swearing, it was complete manipulation and just so patronizing. And I think it was a completely just a tactic to save face and potentially, I don't know, with the parole board that's being formed for her, to try to just manipulate her way out of as much responsibility as possible.
Did you read some of the description behind the counts by chance?
I heard some. It was it's very triggering. I went on News Nation to give a statement, and they had read some of the various the specifics, and it was really, really disturbing and difficult to listen to. Some things close to mine, and some things that were not. But the similarities and the outcome of experience, like, I believed so strongly that I deserved everything that she had put me through, and that it was my fault this was happening, and that I should be grateful for her, that she was saving me. So the emotional coercion and brainwashing that has occurred, there's no way to really quantify the detrimental effects of that. Ruby came out and made a statement about how Jodi had systematically isolated her, and had brainwashed her basically into these lies and these horrific choices. And it's been really interesting for me to kind of sit with that, because on one hand, and most importantly, she is 100% responsible for the choices that she engaged with. She is an adult, she is in charge of these children, and she has been in a position of power more so than most parents because of her public image. And she's been doing this for such a long time. And so to say that she's completely, that rids her of responsibility, I don't think is true at all. And at the same time, which feels contradictory, but I don't think it is, there is a part of me that can understand, at least to some degree, what that may have felt like. Because something that Jodi did with me, and I said these exact words when I don't know if it was in this interview or another, where Jodi is systematic about things. She systematically tears you down and exploits your weaknesses. That's something that she is very, very good at, is that she's able to pinpoint your weakness, exploit it without you realizing what she's doing. And so at first she comes in like any good narcissist, any good psychopath, with this message of, hope and potential. And because she's a therapist, she's a psychologist, she has a lot of truth. And so, that's what makes the lie so good, is that she uses some truth that, makes sense. And she's operating within a system, within a culture and a system that she already understands, specifically Mormonism.
How do you see this playing out long term? This whole situation that involved Ruby and Jodi. Specifically, I know you're more connected to Jodi, but I know you're probably more connected to Ruby now than the first time we spoke, through learning more about her, right?
No, definitely. It's so from how I understand it, they are putting together a parole board that will get together and see Jodi every few years or so, to see if she deserves parole. And from what I remember from the DA, that can be as soon as 8 months from now to be the first one. And so for me, that means showing up to these parole hearings, and hopefully other victims that maybe didn't experience the same level of abuse from Jodi. But I know that there are hundreds and hundreds of families and couples and people that have experienced horrific wrongdoings at the hand of Jodi. And so I'm hoping that these people will show up and fight against any sort of parole that she may or may not receive.
So that was 6 minutes or so of our 20-minute conversation. You can watch the full conversation on our YouTube channel right now. Jesse also hopes for some changes to come from this case. They want to see harsher penalties for child abuse charges in the state of Utah, rather. Right now, as outlined in this case, the aggravated child abuse charge in conjunction with Jodi and Ruby, those are second-degree felonies. Jesse would like to see them perhaps a first-degree felony charge. We've been in touch with legislators and trying to learn more from some lawmakers about if this is happening, if there are conversations about this. And as we learn more, we'll be sure to bring it to you. Continuing to go in depth on this tonight. So Jodi has taken the guilty plea and won't be out of prison for at least 3 years at this point. So why is her website still operational and still apparently accepting one-on-one consultations? Tech insiders have been weighing in on this, giving possible explanations as to why the internet service providers have not removed that site. Luckily, our Paul Nelson has been looking into this too. Paul, what have they been telling you about this website that belongs to the business Connections Classroom?
In this case, though, lots of times these websites, once they're set up, it's kind of a set it and forget it kind of situation. And that's what they believe has happened here. We spoke with Pete Ashdown. He is the owner and founder of Xmission, an internet service provider itself. Now, he says many cases what will happen is that they will actually, the host will actually get into a contract with the companies for sometimes it could be up to a year, sometimes even 2, where they could actually just pay out all that they need to for that entire contract. And until that contract expires, they'll leave the actual website running, even though Jodi Hildebrandt is behind bars. She is not able to offer those one-on-one sessions that are being sold on the Connections Classroom website. Matter of fact, we looked it up today. Excuse me, and we saw that even the $180 charge for 50 minutes, that's non-refundable. So commerce officials say if she does accept any actual new clients on that website, or if the company does, then that is called an unlawful activity, and they could be fined, and maybe even that could be referred to law enforcement.
Paul Nelson breaking it down for us tonight when it comes to the Connections Classroom website. I know we had a lot of questions about that one. Paul and I have been talking about this for the last few days, wondering, hey, what gives with this website? Paul looking into that for us today. Also, Jodi Hildebrandt's multi-million-dollar home in southern Utah is for sale. We first put this out for you yesterday. It's been on the market for about 2 days now. You can imagine maybe selling a home like this could have some complications. We found, though, that the home's history doesn't have to be disclosed to buyers. Daniel Woodruff knows homes, joining us live tonight to explain what he learned about this one that has a price tag of $5.3 million. Daniel.
Is because under Utah law, this home is qualified as a stigmatized home, which means that it had an incident like a murder or a suicide or a felony crime take place there. And under that definition, that means that the sellers don't legally have to say anything about that to the buyers. Utah law exempts that. Now, we did talk with the president of the Salt Lake Board of Realtors today, who said even though it's not legally required, it is best practice to say something about it. She said as an agent, she would say something. She believes many others would. And she said even if they don't say anything, certainly it's not hard to find out about the history with a simple Google search. Or if all else fails, the neighbors are very likely to talk and tell any new buyer exactly what went on in this home. But she believes ultimately it will sell. It's a high-end home by any definition. They'll market it like any home would be. And we'll see what happens when it sells. But it is $5.3 million for sale right now in the city of Ivins.
Daniel, good information on that. Thank you. I know your web article is also at KUTV.com. If people have more questions about the home or about the Connections Classroom website, it's all on our website right now. Of course, this has been a developing story that we brought you months of coverage for. If you'd like to see Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt's full court appearances, we posted the entire unedited videos on our YouTube page. You can also find those past interviews like those with Jesse Hildebrandt, for example, the first one from September, the one from just days ago. All you need to do is click on the 8 Passengers playlist. Before we say goodbye on a Friday evening here in downtown Salt Lake City, I asked Trent Parker a question, and he's going to answer that question.
Got an answer. So the last time we had any kind of snow in St. George was February 24th of last late winter. Now, that's not measurable, so I went back even further. That whole winter, by the way, we only had a trace total. So all of last year, even though it was snowy here in northern Utah, they only got a trace. The last measurable snowfall that they got was March 13th, 2021, where they got 1.5 inches.
Are we thinking measurable on Saturday?
It's going to be tough. It's always so tough in St. George. They don't do well in northerly flow, but there's a possibility. There's hope on the horizon.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There is a chance.
There's also a chance they'll allow us to come back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching 2 News Live. For Trent Parker, I'm Brian Schnee, Paul Nelson, Daniel Woodruff, and our entire crew here at 2 News. It's the first week of 2024. Everyone gets a shout out. Have a great weekend.